here's your host, Bill Knapik.
And welcome to the show, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I am your host, Bill Knapik. This is where America tunes in to hear great real estate talk, also personal development talk. So whether you're listening in Houston, Texas, Dallas, California, Michigan, or anywhere else, we think you're going to enjoy the show because we always have great information and interesting people all the time. And our first guest, we're very excited to have a New York Times best-selling author. His name is Brian Moran. He has written a book called The 12-Week Year. He says get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. He is a gifted speaker, coach, entrepreneur. Brian, thank you and welcome to the show.
It's great to be with you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
And what a great title, The 12-Week Year. First, Brian, tell people about your company and what you do.
Yeah, essentially everything we do in a nutshell is to help people get more of what they want faster. And that's what the 12-week year is about. And so from a 30,000-foot view, that's it. Whether it's in your personal life or your business, just getting more of what you want faster.
And that's very exciting. And in this book, The 12-Week Year, as I mentioned, you say that you can accomplish more of people's dreams, both in their personal and business life, and their goals in 12 weeks than most do in a year. How does that work?
Well, the fundamental breakdown for most people in accomplishing more or really accomplishing what they're capable of is not this notion that they lack information or they lack knowledge or they don't have the right strategy or they're not exposed to the right sales idea or whatever that may be. The fundamental breakdown is an execution. And what the 12-week year is an execution system. And so the reality is it's not enough to know. If you look at the diet and fitness industry, it's a $70 billion industry annually, and yet 63% of Americans, depending on what study you look at, are overweight or obese. It's not a matter of not knowing, it's a matter of doing. And so what the 12-week year does is it focuses on the execution because it closes that knowing-doing gap in a sense. And so it helps you act more consistently on the things that matter most. And in doing that, you know, a couple days of that, no big deal, a couple weeks of that. But when you do that day in, day out, week in, week out, it quickly becomes like compound interest in terms of the impact. And that's how we're able to make the claim and substantiate the claim that, you know, you can accomplish more in 12 weeks than most do in 12 months. It's not about doing as much. It's really about accomplishing by focusing on the things that are really most important.
Indeed. And that word execution, I think, is so great, underused because you have to do it. It's like I guess it was Nike years ago, just do it. What are the tips that you talk about that help people get from the idea, from the vision, to actually getting something done?
Yeah, well, the first thing is to get out of that annualized mindset. That's what the whole 12-week year is about. It was adapted from an athletic training concept called periodization, where they focus in for a very short period of time on a particular skill or discipline. And we move beyond that to really focus on the fundamentals that drive income and life balance. But that's every 12 weeks is treated as a year because in an annual environment, Bill, there's an illusion of lots of time. So in January, everybody's fired up, going to have their best year ever. They get to the end of the month, though, and most people are behind on their goals and their plan, but nobody's worried, right? And the thinking is, I got plenty of time to catch up. And so the first thing is to get out of that annualized mindset. Our clients treat every 12 weeks as a year, where there's a hard line in the sand where at the end of those 12 weeks they're going to measure their success or failure. And what that does is it creates a healthy sense of urgency day in and day out. So that's the first piece, is really getting out of that. If you're operating in an annualized mindset, it's just too easy to put things off.
That's right. That is so well put. When we think about that year, it's like, I have plenty of time, right?
Exactly.
and not really is the answer.
That's right. That's right.
In fact, that's what's great about your book. In the very first chapter, you address that mindset. You call it redefining the year. So for those listening, that is really a great and a very important chapter. Another thing you mentioned in the book, you mentioned how important vision is. So tell us how to create a vision, let's say, that's so powerful that we can leap over any obstacle.
Yeah, there's a set of 5 disciplines we work on that are fundamental, and vision, Bill, as you point out, is the first because it's the starting point. Right? If you're going to create anything great in your life, it's because you had the courage to first embrace it mentally before you create it physically, and that's what vision's all about. And you know, we do that work with our clients, and what I find is that most people are uncomfortable doing that because they've never done it. But vision is just simply thinking about the future and defining it in a way that's compelling. So pick a time frame, 3 years from now, right? What do you want your life to look like? And we don't start with income or your career. We start with your life, because your income, your career is just part of that. And what would great look like, by the way? Not good, but great. And just starting to kind of narrow the focus on that and define that more effectively. What does that mean in terms of income? What does that mean in lifestyle? What does that mean in terms of the roles I play for me personally as a husband, as a father, as a sibling, as a member of my community, and the things that matter to me? How am I going to show up? And what do I want to create that's exciting, right? Where there's an emotional connection to it. Because what we're looking for then is we'll bring that to things like your career or other areas, so that in the end, there's an emotional connection to what I do Monday through Friday and the life I want to live. And the stronger that connection is, the easier it is then for you to step out and do things differently and do different things, which is critical, because if you're going to create a different result, you're going to have to do things differently and do different things. And without that emotional connection to it, what happens, Bill, is it's too easy for people to choose what's comfortable and what's familiar. And so that's what most people do. They choose pleasurable activity over pleasurable results. And that starts with the fact that they really haven't defined what they want their life to look like in as much detail as they can, and then stay connected to it. So again, there's that sort of fire in the belly connection to it that really makes it powerful.
Well, and people may think that we all have an idea of what we think we know what we want, but it sounds like we really need to be mindful and take some time, as you're mentioning, to create a powerful vision. What are some of the suggestions that you would give people to be able to, I guess, jot the ideas down to really create this powerful vision?
Yeah, there's a fun exercise some of your listeners may be familiar with. It's called Have Do Be, and you just create 3 columns and take like 3 or 4 minutes per column and list all the things you'd like to have in life, the material, the non-material things, all the things you want to do, all the things you want to be. And then look for the stuff that really matters. Things that show up in each category are the things that'll probably matter most. And that's a really great exercise, though, to get you thinking about that. And then pull from that and say, okay, pick a point in time. We do 2 points. We do long-term aspirational, 5, 10, 15 years, and we do 3 years, right? Mm-hmm. So pick a point and say, okay, what is meaningful to me? What do I want? What kind of life do I want to be living 3 years from today? And some of the things on that have do be list will prompt some thinking around that, and just start to document that. Now, the key there is to just hold it lightly. There's no right or wrong. You want to be careful, though, that you're not heavily influenced by society, but by really what's in your heart. Because if you're not willing to define what you want, society's more than happy to define it for you and tell you
no doubt
what you should want and all of that. So the key there is that it's meaningful to you, and that in the end, it describes what great would look like.
Well, and once that vision's established, what are some of the things to be thinking about to turn that into a plan?
Yeah, so the next step is then bring it near term and say, okay, 12 weeks from today, let me set a couple goals that align with that longer-term vision. And one of the things about 12-week planning is we talk a lot about let's be great at a few things versus mediocre at many, because most plans have too much in them. People are overwhelmed, they're diffused, and partly because they're planning for 12 months. What we want to do is bring that long-term vision near term and pick 1 or 2 goals and then build out a tactical plan. And even there, less is more, right? We're looking for the critical few in terms of actions. The least amount of, we call them tactics, but the least number of actions in order to accomplish the goal. And just get very granular with the plan, because most plans are conceptual and concepts don't execute. You've got to get tactical in. And so a tactic is really a statement that describes an action that I can take. So, right? It might be like ask for referrals 3 times a day. It might be something that says, walk 2 miles 3 times per week, right? It describes an action that I can take. And when we construct our plans, we need to get that specific and that granular so that we know what's most important over the next 12 weeks.
In 12 weeks, we have that plan for things we want 3, 5 years and down the road. But as we look at each and every day is so important, right, Brian? What are the things that we should be mindful of as we approach each day and connecting the right actions to the 12-week plan, thus what life's going to be like 3, 5 years from now?
Yeah, I think the key there, Bill, is that we control our actions, not our outcomes. We influence the outcomes, we desire the outcomes, we control our actions. So think of the goals as outcomes. I want to weigh a certain weight, I want to make a certain dollar in terms of income or whatever it may be. Those are outcomes. I don't control them. What I control are the actions.
Hey, Brian, let's say that again. That bears repeating. We control our actions, right?
Right, not the outcomes. And so where people get snarled up is when the outcome doesn't look the way we want it, and we get all fixated on that, and it can be really paralyzing. What you want to know is that we control the actions, and so the actions are the tactics in the plan. And let's translate them to weekly. So on a weekly basis, we're working from that plan, but it's not a plan we create each week out of the blue. It's just taking what's due in the 12-week plan this particular week. So if I'm in week 3, I'm going to my 12-week plan. I'm looking for tactics that are due in week 3. And that's my weekly plan. Now, it's not the only thing I do, right? There's all kinds of other things I do. But in terms of hitting the goal, those are the most important things. So then I begin to align my time with what's in the plan. Because if that stuff gets done, I had a great week, regardless of the results, right? The outcomes are lag and I don't control them. So if I did what's in my plan, I had a great week. If I didn't, I've lost a week. And so that's why we talk so much about the mindset, right? Your mindset about what you can control and what you can't control and what constitutes an effective week and what doesn't. And it's all about the actions.
No doubt about it. Mindset is so important. In fact, I like the very first page of your book. You quote Thomas Edison, if we did the things we are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. And that's what the 12-week year book does for people. And you see it all the time, Brian, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I like to joke and astound yourself in a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's super important. Well, Brian, one other thing. What do you in your findings? What do you find the biggest reason that people fail to achieve what they're truly capable of? Is there one thing, or is there several?
Yeah, I think there is, Bill. And it's a really good question, and I think it's the fact that we as humans are wired for comfort. We tend to seek comfort, and I think that's the number one enemy of people accomplishing what they're capable of and what they really desire to do. And that's why we got to get out of that annual mindset, because it's just too easy to choose what's comfortable in the moment. And that's why vision matters. That's why staying connected to the vision, to having a powerful why that says, okay, I'm willing to step out and be uncomfortable doing these new things and go through the uncertainty, because there's no guarantee they're going to produce the results I want. But the why is powerful enough that I'm willing to step out and do it. So it takes sacrifice to be great. I don't think you have to sacrifice your family, your values, your integrity, your health, your sanity, but you're going to sacrifice your comfort. Because in order to create the things that people want to create, they're going to have to do things differently and do different things, which means every time you do that, there's a level of discomfort, there's a level of uncertainty, there's a level of anxiety that goes with that. And that's the thing, that's the biggest barrier that people have to overcome on a daily basis, is in spite of that, to choose to act.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Brian Moran, best-selling author of The 12-Week Year. Brian, this is an incredible book. Tell people how they can learn more about your company, some of the things you're doing, and how they can get a copy of the book.
Sure, yeah. The book's available on Amazon, on Kindle, and Barnes & Noble, all of that. It's also on our website, 12weekyear.com, 12weekyear.com. We have everything from online training and an online app that supports the application of the 12-week year, to individual and group coaching, to me coming out and doing everything from keynotes to half-day and full-day trainings. So, if there's a way we can support you, we'd love to help you. You can reach out to us through that website. There's a contact page there you can fill out and tell us what you're interested in. But it'll give you a chance to kind of look at some of the stuff we do and how we might help.
And I think it's absolutely brilliant that as you hit it right on the head, where people look at that year, especially around New Year's, we plan all these things, but we look too far ahead. Every day is important, and when you consolidate it, it's just brilliant to bring it down to the 12-week year. One quick word, how did you get that idea to begin with, to bring it down to 12 weeks?
It's interesting, Bill. We were working with, and I say we, my business partner, Mike Lennington, who co-authored the book, we were working with the whole notion of execution. And one of our clients was into cycling, and he started to talk to us about a concept called periodization, which is an athletic training program. And I recalled it from, my weightlifting days. And so we started to look at that And that's where the 12-week year was born out of. It was really an adaptation of that periodization training for athletics and moving beyond training, as I said, to really focus in on the fundamentals that drive income and life balance.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Moran, the 12-week year, 12weekyear.com. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thanks for having me, Bill. Appreciate it.